Welcome to the latest installment of an Extraordinary Recap. It is your boy, Jay Connor.
And this is Alex Hardy.
And this season, we're recapping every single episode of HBO's smash hit Insecure. And tonight, we're joined by Dr. Joy Harden Bradford of the popular Therapy for Black Girls podcast, who you can also find in this month's issue of O Magazine. Thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And in tonight's episode, Issa's car is fucked up and she's living that unfortunate public transportation life that I think all of us have experienced on some level, especially living in New York with you, Alex, which of course limits her ability to enjoy her hocation. But that isn't the only wrench in her plan, as she clearly experiences some major obstacles elsewhere. So with no car and no Daniel in sight, she resorts to breaking the cardinal rule of calling before you come and decides to slide over to Neighbor Bay's crib for some quick work without calling beforehand, only to discover someone else beat her to the punch. And then afterwards, she invites Miko over for a tryst, but is rebuffed because he wants more than just sex from her. And, you know, obviously they have that whole awkward exchange where he's like, are we still going to go to the restaurant? And she's like, nah. And he just shakes the shot. So before we get into what went on with Daniel afterwards, what do you guys think of how Issa handled each of these situations? We'll start with you, Joy.
Yeah, I really felt for her this whole episode because it felt like the levels of desperation got really thick to me. And it just made me uncomfortable like so many times tonight. Like it felt like she was super awkward tonight.
Yeah, it was like peak awkward black girl. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, same. She definitely was at her awkward best tonight. Not calling before you pop up on somebody you just smashed awkwardly one time is definitely not the right move. And that's the downside of being in the same apartment complex, because, you know, you have shit like that she definitely should not be doing as a grown adult in 2017. But yeah, she's just all bad, all wrong, all awkward.
Yeah, you can't just be popping up on people, man. I tell you, know, that's the prime recipe and the prime ingredient for getting your feelings hurt. Yep. You know what I'm saying? It's like, especially when you want some hocation shit where it's just like a free for all. You know what I'm saying? Vaginas and penises just raining from the sky. It's like, yo, you can't just pop up on somebody, especially when you just had like a one night stand type situation, and then expect for him to be sitting around doing nothing just because you saw the light was on. Like that's right. Poor form.
That's not gonna work.
Yeah, it just feels like it really was very clear that she was so out of her element without like not texting before she went over there.
Yeah, that was.
You got to get her whole technique up.
Now, from a therapeutic standpoint, Dr. Joy, what do you think is going on?
I think that she is so uncomfortable sitting with the feelings and the pain of the breakup that she has thrown herself into this whole phase, and it's not really working out the way that she thought it would.
So basically, she's trying to use her vagina to fight her way out the darkness, is what you're saying.
And that definitely is a different way to say it. Absolutely.
Guiding light.
So lastly, Issa and Daniel are still figuring out the whole fuck buddy dynamic. And after a conversation with her girls on how sucking dick is a means to demonstrate power over a man, Issa finally embraces her sexual liberation and proceeds to perform the unthinkable on Daniel. But when he responds in kind by busting a nut in her eye, she's insulted.
Listen.
Do you guys feel that this is the breaking point for Issa in regards to her experiencing her hocation?
I think it definitely could be. I mean, because she already made all those comments when they were at the sexplosion, right? About like how Black women don't like to give oral sex because she feels like it's degrading and people lose respect for you afterwards. So I feel like him doing that in her eye really might be the wake up call for her.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You gotta communicate.
Anytime you start something with, so here's the thing, you know it's going to be good. Go ahead.
You got to communicate those, like, you know, let me know before you nut. You got to let people know before, especially when going into that situation, just because if it wasn't her eye, it could have easily been her mouth. And I'm sure that's not what she was looking for either. So there obviously was a lack of communication there. And but if you in your whole phase and you're committed to it as someone who that has happened to, though it is unfortunate, that should not be the last straw in your hocation. Like, you got to be more committed than that. That's just things happen.
See, you know what though? This might be the first time in a long time I have a beef with the show, because I felt like the way that scene played out, I felt like Daniel was supposed to have intentionally busted that nut in her face, but I don't feel like it was conveyed very well. You know what I'm saying?
I think the drama that incident, like I said, though it sucked, I don't think it warranted that type of reaction, like a storming out, you know.
Well, that's my point. Like, I think in the script, it was supposed to be he did that intentionally, but I don't think they did a good job of conveying that on screen, which is why she reacted the way she did. Because I think she's sucking his dick. Obviously, that's on purpose. But I think in her, like, being on some, I'm on some hoe shit, he was like, oh, okay, well, you a hoe. I'm going to treat you like a hoe and bust this nut in your eye or in your face. And I think she reacted like that because that's what was supposed to happen in the scene. But I don't think they did a good job of conveying that. You get what I'm saying?
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually think the storming out was like shock, of course, but I also think it was just like the built up frustration of like this whole hotation not going as she planned. And then just realizing, you know, like I'm really frustrated and fed up with this at this point. Yeah,
no, I can definitely see that too. Now, Dr. Joy, without going in your business, is there a stigma with Black women and sucking dick?
Yeah, so I was really kind of surprised by that. I feel like when I was like much younger, you know, there was this whole like, oh, Black girls don't do that. But I feel like since I've become like a full grown woman, like that is not something that I hear anymore. So I was really surprised that they went there with, you know, kind of cackling like high school girls almost about like, oh, Black girls don't give blowjobs.
Yeah, I felt like that was kind of an outdated.
That's the word I was going to use. Outdated for sure.
Yeah, it's just kind of like we're still having this conversation in 2017. I mean, I've never known for this to be an issue, so I was just kind of confused. Like, why is this? When did this become a thing again?
Now, if they were talking about fucking an ass, then that's different.
Yeah. I'd have been like,
you talk about taboo and you know that girl, you know that kind of chasteness about it, but getting hit, I thought that's kind of part of the package these days.
I thought everybody was getting head. Like, I was thoroughly confused. Like, I thought did we time travel? Is this 95? Are we wearing Tommy Hilfiger and FUBU again? Like, what the fuck?
It seemed unnecessarily prudish for that group.
Yes.
Definitely. Old girl's judging her for sucking dick, but she's over there getting fingered under the table. Really? You're going to be that person? All right, so in other news, Molly is having difficulties defining the parameters of the open relationship she has entered with Dro, which begs the question, is their friendship ruined? And is Molly capable of treating Dro like a timeshare with another woman?
It's a lot for her. I think she's going to have to do some growing here. And
is it growing or compromise? Or both? I guess you could say both.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just not what she wants. You know, it seems like she definitely wants Dro, but I think she wants the intimacy and like she doesn't seem to be okay with sharing. And like, you know, the fact that he's like, okay, I'll holler at you next weekend. You know, that's the kind of thing that's going to happen if you are on borrowed time. If you got like a community dick happening, you can't be that stingy with, you know, your needs and your wants and your demands for attention. So it's going to either be, she's going to have to put her foot down and realize it's not what she wants. Or like you said, it may have to be some compromising.
Word, she got to make an appointment and call it a day. What do you think, Dr. Joy?
Yeah, I really don't think Molly is built for this. And I think she got a very clear wake-up call at the end when he had to go and let Candace in. Because, you know, what she ultimately has always talked about wanting is this like fairy tale, you know, husband and maybe children. And this is definitely not fitting with that fantasy that she had for herself.
Yeah, it's just to segue the point that I'm going to make. Could either of you see yourself entertaining an open relationship?
No.
She got right to it. Alex?
It would have to be like some amazing circumstances, like the best case scenario, the best, you know, everything I need, all my needs, all my check marks, you know, check boxes checked off for me to entertain. There's just a certain level of intimacy. I don't know that if I could bring to like a 3-4 person situation.
Yeah,
I don't know if I could.
I think for me personally, the older I get, the more receptive I am to the idea. But I think at the end of the day, you know, something about building something with one person and then knowing that she's sharing that with somebody else would fuck with me. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if I would call it pride or if I would call it being selfish or, you know, I don't know, or just an appreciation for the rapport you're trying to build with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think that at the end of the day, it's something that I could entertain seriously. And I think that's kind of where Molly's at now, in that she really likes Dro. You know, they obviously have this long, storied past. But I think at the end of the day, he's not going to be able to provide her with what it is that she wants. Like you guys said, this storybook, monogamous fairy tale lifestyle. You know what I mean? 2 kids, or two, what is it, 2.5 kids, 2 kids, whatever,
2.5 kids,
yeah,
and a white
2.5
picket
kids
fence.
and a white picket fence. Yeah, like the whole nine. I just don't see that going very well. From a therapeutic standpoint, Dr. Joy, what do you think about how Molly is going about this, especially in light of the revelation of her parents having previous issues with adultery?
Yeah, so I think, and I don't know if we will see this again this season, but I hope we see her back in the therapist's office because they really left that unresolved, although it sounds like she like dumped the therapist because she felt like the therapist was too much in her business. But I think now she has been forced to question like what this fantasy that she held up for her life, like, is that really possible? And I think that is what kind of threw her into Dro's arms in the first place. And so I think she may be kind of questioning that, and maybe that's why she's kind of exploring like, okay, maybe I can do this open relationship thing. But it was not something that was ever on the table for her before. And I think what she, at her core really wants is, a monogamous type of relationship. And I don't think that this is getting her any closer to that end.
Do you think that their friendship, because I mean, obviously, whenever you're with somebody, you want to have that dual relationship of being lovers and friends. Do you think that their friendship is irreparably harmed?
I definitely think it could be.
I think it could be. It'll just be different. I think it'll definitely be on her part. He seemed to be pretty chill. He was trying to carry on as if things were the same. Maybe he has some feelings about it, but she definitely seems to be the one that's more affected emotionally by it. I don't know if she can go back to just me and kicking it with the homies like she was before, as if nothing happened.
Have either of you been in a situation in which you were good friends with somebody and things kind of went a little left and you decided that you were romantically interested and you did the don't and things kind of went whichever way they went? Have either of you, ever fractured or potentially sacrificed a friendship in that manner?
I haven't.
You're a liar.
I was just thinking. I have a couple friends. Fuck it. I have a couple friends who I wouldn't mind going that kind of route with, but again, it's like I value them as a friend, and I feel like I may be in Molly's situation in terms of like inside my feelings and not knowing how to proceed forward. It would change things. I think even if we just on some like, look, unless it was like, look, you grown, I'm grown. I have this need. I have this attraction. Let's get it popping and see. But I think things would be changed somewhat. It would be impossible to go back to acting like it didn't happen.
Yeah. Dr. Joy?
No, I have not.
Boy, that answer was succinct as hell, boy. She was like, nah, player. I think it's easier to go from dating somebody to being a friend versus being a friend and dating somebody. I mean, I definitely think there's been situations in the past where I've been very fortunate in that a lot of situations that presented themselves in that manner, I demonstrated discipline as badly as I wanted to do the don't. I was like, it's not worth compromising a friendship. But I mean, there's definitely been missteps in the past in which I was really good friends with somebody and it ended up going left. And then sometimes you just can't rebound from that. You know what I mean? And sometimes it just, depending upon the depth of the friendship that you have, it's just not worth even putting it at risk. And I think the friendship that Molly and Dro had, I mean, they've known each other since like elementary school or something like that. Mm-hmm. Something like that. It's like either you're going to commit to being friends or you're going to commit to being in a relationship, but you can't straddle that line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I did find it interesting that they did never talk about like why they didn't maybe try to date before he got married.
Because they said that they were a little bit interested before, though, didn't they? Right,
and he took her to prom, she said. So, yeah, it just feels kind of like they could have explored this before he even got married.
And it should be noted, we still have yet to see Candace, so it's all hearsay as far as I know, as far as him knowing about Molly. But that would be an interesting twist if she has all these hang-ups about her dad cheating on her mom, and then she ends up being the other woman in Dro's marriage.
She's about to be.
That would be rough. All right, now, Lawrence. With his love life in shambles, Lawrence kind of pours himself into his work. And unfortunately, that isn't going so great either. When he delivers a pitch at work, his coworkers are cagey with their feedback and offer nothing substantial in regards to advice. Taking into consideration how awkward that conversation was, or both of them were, are they only keeping him around the notorious white tech space because he's black?
I think without knowing like more of the dynamic in that workplace, it's kind of hard to say definitively. But I definitely got that vibe of like, oh, we need a cool black guy in the office. You know, maybe he'll be of some use to us. But yeah, look at his shoes. He's dope. He can probably teach us Bodak Yellow or some shit.
These is blood shoes. Go ahead, Dr. Joy.
Yeah, I don't know that I think they're only keeping him around because he's black, and I don't quite know like what his job is, but I think he's probably good at like doing whatever else they need him to do. I think they maybe just don't appreciate his app ideas and wanted to try to let him down easily.
So it might not necessarily be a black thing. It just might be you're a cool dude and we want to keep you around thing.
Right. But it did feel like some of that language was coded, though, about the shoes and stuff.
See, the only reason I'm inclined to believe race is related to that situation is because this is the tech space. The tech space is notoriously white. Silicon Valley is notoriously white. So that's part of what makes me wonder if, okay, what's really going on here? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that definitely being in that space. But I mean, I don't think there was anything presented in like white people are weird as hell in general, but I don't think there was anything in that to imply, oh, there's some racial fuck shit happening. I mean, I think everything's racist, but there was nothing overt that showed that they were trying to clown him like that.
Now, Dr. Joy, from a therapeutic standpoint, do you think it's beneficial for Lawrence to, after having all these L's in regards to his love life, whether it's Tasha, whether it's the threesome, whether it's whatever else, do you feel like it's beneficial for him to just pivot and focus solely on his work?
I don't think so, because as his friend very eloquently pointed out last week, he really has some stuff he needs to work through before he's really ready to get into another relationship. And I don't think he can do that by just throwing himself into his work. Like, that would just be running from the issues.
See, Dr. Joy dropping them gems, y'all. Don't run away from therapy, y'all. Don't be hiding in your cubicles. Take your ass to that couch. All right. So it's been implied for a couple of episodes now, but is there a spark we sense between Lawrence and Aparna?
Yes.
Especially after her spiel about starting anew?
I think so.
I think there could be. He definitely just seems like he's in an open space where he's just receptive to whatever kind of warm and fuzzy feelings. But yeah, she giving him that lowdown and you know, kind of helping him come down from that possible rejection. Yeah, I think she's probably pitching some moves. She's probably sweet on Lawrence a little bit. I think so.
So how do we feel about them romantically? Do you think there's potential there? Because she's a cute girl, but cute isn't everything.
Right. And, you know, I always think that's really like shaky in the workplace, especially like an office that's so small, like they don't even have doors, you know, like they're just in this open shared space. So I feel like that could be very tricky. But what I did find very interesting about their interaction was that, you know, when he first asked her for the feedback about the app and she told him, yeah, I don't really think they're feeling it, he kind of tried to blow her off, but then came back and was saying like, oh, you're right. I feel like that kind of interaction was not something we saw with him in Issa. Like, it felt like it was very difficult for him to go back and say, like, I apologize or I was wrong with her, but he very easily, it felt like, did it with Aparna.
Do you feel like he dismissed her because he didn't like what she was saying, or do you think it potentially could have something to do with because it came from a woman?
I think it could be a little bit of both, but I think mostly he just did not want to give up on the dream of Woot Woot.
Yeah, I can see that. Alex?
Yeah, I just think he was really feeling, you know, he was kind of on a cloud because of, you know, he thought the presentation went well, you know, he read them wrong, but he, I guess, kind of felt like it went well. They were into it. Something's good is going to come of this. I think he was just kind of not trying to hear anything negative in that moment, being a little bit blinded by, you know, endorphins and shit.
Well, I think plus, you know, after the 2-3 years he's had of, you know, slumming it on the couch for so long, and then he's finally in a position where he's got a job, his dreams are starting to line up. You don't want to hear that shit with somebody being like, nah, that's not a good move. You know what I mean? Like, right. You don't want to hear that.
You definitely don't. Not when that's something, you know, and like he's talked about it, and, you know, like she talked about with her rap, like that's your baby. That's something you've been, you are finessing and refining every single day. So you definitely not trying to just drop it off on the side of the road so easily. So I definitely feel his reluctance to, accept what the fuck she's saying. I think she was just trying to keep it real. And
yeah,
he wasn't feeling it.
Now, Dr. Joy, it's looking like Issa and Lawrence are headed to a collision course. And it's interesting considering all the, well, I guess you could say growth and impediments they've faced over the course of this season. I mean, they're definitely drastically different characters than they were last season. How do you think this reunion is going to go?
Ooh, I think this is going to take the awkward to a new level. And it also feels like they are both planning to bring like these other people to kind of make it seem as though neither of them are still feeling really bad about the breakup. It definitely looks like she is bringing Daniel, and it looks like he has some kind of like little interaction with Arpana in the stairwell where it looks like he might be inviting her too. So I think that they both are going to be trying to pretend as if they're okay after this breakup when really neither of them has dealt with it.
Yeah. Alex, what do you think?
Agreed. I think both of them will front really hard to try to look like they're doing better now that they've moved on from one another. I foresee a very awkward but long overdue, conversation just on some, I don't know. I don't think they both dealt with it, but I think that they need to have just a conversation. Obviously, they're doing all these things to try to heal that wound of, losing the other one. And they just need to sit the fuck down and have it out and not through an intermediary like Molly.
Yeah, it's definitely going to go down, especially if it's like their friends are there. You know what I mean? I need Chad to come to be in the building when that goes down, because he's got to have a hitter on his team, because, Tiffany and Molly and Kelly and the rest of them, they don't play. So any other lingering thoughts on this episode?
I'm proud of Issa for going for rocking Daniel's mic. I feel like that was not something. I don't know how she made it through a whole relationship with Lawrence without doing it, but not to say she didn't, but just it's growth. It's not for everyone. It's not easy. And I'm glad she did it, because it looks like she stepped out of herself and did something. So shout out to growth.
Yeah, and I think that this was the episode for me where everybody really had to kind of come face to face with what is actually reality, and that they cannot live in these fantasy worlds anymore.
There was a lot going on this episode. A lot of character development, especially in regards to Issa. I mean, it was the first episode in a long time that, well, actually, I guess you could say that Lawrence caught a L in regards to what happened with his job. So this would be the third episode in a row he caught or third or fourth episode in a row he caught a L. But I'm excited for what's to come, and I think that's about it. So thank you, Dr. Joy, for coming through. Where can people find you at on these internet streets?
You can find me at therapyforblackgirls.com.
And you can also find her in the newest issue of O Magazine. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You will not find us in O Magazine, by the way. Alex, where can people find us?
You can find us at theextraordinarynegroes.com. You can also find us on the social media at The Extra Negroes on Twitter and Instagram, and also as The Extraordinary Negroes on the Facebook.
And again, thank you all for all these listens and love that we are getting for these recaps. And that's about it. Catch y'all next week. Peace.
Good night.
Bye.